gander of paper and ink will ever put an end to it. What is needed is a clean sweep, a clear start for an unfettered life. Therefore, I would shovel my stuff in heaps at the corners of the streets, if I had enough for that. Except the store I always carry with me here, attached to this rubber bulb here. It's enough to blow this whole room to smithereens. Oh, yes, if I had enough. But as I haven't, I do my best to perfect a really dependable detonator.
I shouldn't wonder if it was one of your detonators that made a clean sweep of the man in the park.
Detonators have to be tried, after all, besides...
Well, who could that fellow be? I do assure you that we, in London, had no knowledge of anything being arranged. Look, couldn't you describe the person you last gave the stuff to?
Describe him? I don't think there can be the slightest objection to that now. I can describe him to you in one word. Verloc.
Verloc? It's impossible. Did he say anything to you as to his intentions?
He told me it was going to be a demonstration against a building.
But what do you think went wrong?
Well, I can't say. He either ran the time too close or simply let the thing fall.
Verloc? I hadn't seen him for a month. I must organize a little meeting of the comrades.
Haven't you got anything better to do?
Get Michaelis to town. He will speak.
Have you abandoned your collection of women?
Yeah.
Psst. Tell me, Ossipon, terrible man, has ever one of your victims killed herself for you? Or are your triumphs so far incomplete? For blood alone puts a seal on greatness. Blood. Death. Look at history.
To be damned.
Ossipon, I feel towards you friendly. Contempt. You couldn't kill a fly. To the destruction of what is.
I'm damned if you don't seem to kill everybody simply by sitting eyes on them. Look at that ass Verloc. You made him blow himself to bits.
What a bad death.
I wonder what happened to that woman now. Well, he was an ass to leave such an imbecile business on my hands. Junt has been laid up with bronchitis. It will finish him, I think. Michaelis is out of town and will not see a paper. He never reads a paper.
They make him too sad, is it?
And I'm rather short of cash at the moment. I wonder what I had better do.
Do? Fasten yourself onto the woman for all she's worth.
I did not expect to see you so soon.
Well, I started at 8, sir, and I've been at it without a break. After what I've seen, I didn't seem to care for food.
Did you come straight from there?
Straight from Greenwich Police Station, yes, sir.
Were you able to identify the man?
Oh, Lord, sir, that was impossible. They had to collect him with a shovel. The coroner's jury will have a treat.
And we shall have nothing to tell them about him. Person unknown, eh?
I'm afraid it will have to be that, sir, yes. Well, there were only the 2 legs below the knee that they could pick up. The rest of him they had to gather together into a waterproof sheet, all mixed up with a lot of gravel. Well, there's no use talking about that. The thing he was carrying must have gone off right under his chest when he stumbled and fell.
You know that he was carrying something in his hand?
Yes, a gallon varnish tin, sir. I got it all from the porters at Maze Hill Station. Only 3 people got off the train. One of them was a fish hawker from Gravesend. The porter saw him every day. And then there were the other 2, a heavy man of 15.
Did the porters tell you that?
Tell me what, sir?
His age?
Well, I got a sort of notion of that somehow from the ticket collector who got a good look at him. He got out backwards out of a 3rd-class compartment with a bright tin can in his hand. He looked like a small tradesman or a better sort of mechanic. He gave the can to Carey to a slight, fair-haired young man who was with him. He gave up the 2 tickets at the barrier. A heavy fog was coming down at the time.
Yeah, we've had these fogs for a month. It's too awful.
Oh, yes, a horrible weather.
Horrible.
An old woman noticed these 2 outside Maze Hill Station. That we know. And then half an hour later, a local constable was standing at the door of the King William Street Lodge, talking to the keeper. He saw what he says was like a heavy flash of lightning in the fog. He ran between the trees as fast as his legs could carry him, and then he came to this big hole in the ground, and, yeah, well, the rest of it. He got a labourer with a shovel to help him to clear up the mess. No sign of the other man, of course. It looks as though he brought the young chap within, well, say 100 yards of the observatory wall and then left him to finish the job single-handed. Reckoning the time carefully, I would judge that the other man was actually at Greenwich Park Station, ready to catch the next train up, at the same time that his friend destroyed himself so thoroughly.
Yes. Very thoroughly, eh?
Well, there were enough bits of tin and fair hair to make certain that it was the young chap.
To remain unknown.
Oh, well, what else do you expect, sir? And moreover, he must have been a rank outsider. I consider it quite unfair, outsiders taking a hand in this game.
You said something about his legs being picked up. There were his boots on them.
Well, I didn't look at his boots, sir, because to tell you the truth, I'd had about enough of it by then. I'm not squeamish as a rule, but that turned me faint. I got away as quick as I could. And moreover, it wouldn't have been any use because he probably bought the boots second-hand or third-hand for that matter.
Do you know, the worst aspect of this affair, Inspector Heat, is that only a fortnight ago I assured the Secretary of State that no outbreak of anarchist activity was to be anticipated. I made that statement on your assurance, naturally. Assistant commissioners come and go, as you know by experience.
Yes, sir, I've seen some changes in my time.
But Chief Inspector Heat remains. You are our greatest expert. You assured me that there wasn't one of them that our department couldn't lay hands on at any time of the day or night. I repeated that assurance to the Secretary of State, who was very pleased enough to smile. If you had seen that smile, Inspector Heat, the recollection of it would be very annoying to you now.
Well, I'm vexed enough as it is, sir. But gentlemen like Sir Ethelred forget that you may watch an anarchist inch by inch for years, and there is bound to come a moment when you lose sight and touch of him for a few hours, and then some confounded accident is bound to occur. Yeah. When I was younger, sir, I had charge of burglary and murder cases, and I can only assure you I wish I was back there now.
I believe you were very successful in the world of thieves.
Well, they played their game, sir, and I played mine, and they cannot deny that I played it fair. It takes a man to make a burglar, but any damn fool may turn terrorist. That lot don't know the meaning of the word fair. Do you know, sir, the other evening I met one of them in the street. He's a fellow they call the Professor. He even carries £half pound of his best explosive in his pocket, they say. Boasts about it. If you lay your hands on me, he says, we will both get so mixed up they'll have to bury us in the same grave. Now, that's the sort of talk you get from that lot, and that's their greatest man.
But he had nothing to do with this regrettable incident.
Well, strictly speaking, sir, no, nothing whatever.
Strictly speaking, what does that mean?
Well, I may tell you at once, sir, that none of the people that we are looking after had anything to do with this affair.
Positively?
Oh, yes, sir. Except one, perhaps. But, well, I mean, how is one to guard oneself so when rank outsiders begin to take a hand in the
one
game?
moment. Two people, let us call them outsiders, dropped from the blue to perpetrate this perfectly futile outrage, which nevertheless is extremely frustrating, extremely vexing, and very serious from the fact that Sir Ethelred has been made angry. Do you know that he said to me that our ideas of efficiency here seem to consist of making the Secretary of State look a fool? I had a very unpleasant interview, very unpleasant indeed.
Well, that was unjust, sir. Very unjust on the department. Well, in this case, anyhow. But you see, sir, well, gentlemen like Sir Ethelred don't quite understand that not everything is fit to be told. For instance, there are things that don't happen. I mean, they just miss happening. They don't hear about them. I mean, myself, sir, I've squashed things that if I hadn't held my tongue...
You have all a devoted servant's mistrust of your superiors, I see.
Oh, well, it's we who do the work, sir.
Yes, and I feel sure that you've not wasted your morning altogether in Greenwich.
Not altogether, sir.
Well, come now, Inspector Heat. Don't try to keep me in the dark. Of course, I know that in the end everything gets reduced to writing, but for the meantime, let us regard this conversation as unofficial. Now, you mentioned somebody who you connect with this case. Now, between ourselves, who is it?
The ex-convict Michaelis, sir.
Oh, nonsense.
He's a public pet, I know, sir, but it's difficult to resist